Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo, and it's great to be on this show as usual. Just trying to catch up on some things on my phone. It's a bit difficult for me reading from my phone. I don't know what you do when it comes to reading, what you prefer when it comes to reading. But reading from my phone, books I mean, it's quite tricky. It's something I'm trying to get up to speed with. Some people really enjoy reading from their phones or reading from e-readers, whether they are iPads or laptops or whatever type of e-readers. There are so many of them out there these days. But reading from e-readers is actually a good thing because it can save you lots and lots of troubles. For example, if you're traveling, instead of carrying 5 books, you can have all those books right here and read from here. So it's possible to travel lighter once you use an e-reader rather than traditional books. But I love the traditional books, the paper, the smell, the touch and the feel. Good old paper books. A lot of people around the world still love their paper books. And the debate is ongoing, whether they will, at some point in time, whether they will cease to exist and everybody will start reading from e-readers, etc., etc. Well, let's leave that for another day. But books will always be books. Books will always be there for as long as possible, whether they are in the form of paper or digital forms. Books will always be there. Well, today we've got a guest who has written on a subject that I'm sure will interest you. Put 2 Nigerians in a room anywhere in the world, and most likely you can put your bet on it that they're discussing Nigeria's problems and how those problems can be fixed. We are all interested in fixing Nigeria. And he has written a book that attempts to address some of Nigeria's most fundamental problems. I will say no more. Let's get to meet with our guest author for the week and the conversation around his book that addresses Nigeria's very, very fundamental problems. Enjoy this.
Zachariah Suleiman is a leadership coach, lecturer, politician, and author. Suleiman, who is the CEO of Chatcrum Integrated Services Limited, has over 3 decades of experience in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. He lectures at Philomath University, Abuja, and is pursuing a PhD in development finance at Nasarawa State University. Suleiman is the author of Investment Success and Preparing for a Happy and Comfortable Life in Retirement. He joins Channels Book Club to discuss his latest book, Transforming Nigeria.
Zachariah Suleiman, nice to have you on Channels Book Club. After a while, it's been some years.
Thank you for having me.
I hope life has been treating you very well. Well, you look like life has been treating you well.
Yes, life has been treating me well. Having retired from service, I've been busy doing the things I love doing.
I guess so. I know you are very passionate about how people can prepare for life after retirement. I know that's one thing you've been passionate about for many years.
Yeah, I've been putting those things I wrote into practice.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Great to have you here. And then you have moved from there to talking more generally about our country, Nigeria, by some of the things you have written and expressed in your latest book titled Transforming Nigeria, Pathways to Progress and Prosperity. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Of course, I mean, as far back as I can recall, you've been very concerned about Nigeria as a country, and finally you've written something about it. I would like you to talk a bit about the inspiration or the motivation behind this book.
Yeah, as part of my concern, I was actually challenged by a friend who called me from abroad. And he said, for the first time in life, he is in a country that everything is working excellently. Now, the question was, why is my country not working excellently well? So in trying to provide an answer to this question, I came across a lot of things, the challenges of our country. So many things are wrong with our country. I went into history to check exactly what they are. I tell you, what I discovered is what I decided to put on pen and paper so that I can share with Nigerians and see what we can do collectively to transform this country.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, there's so much you have packed into this material, but I would like us to take viewers through what you have in here, step by step. Of course, we don't want to reveal everything because they might as well just watch this and not bother with your book. But let's take viewers step by step through what you have in here. I like the fact that you started by explaining the potential of the country and unfortunately how problematic the country has become. You then set about putting Nigeria within historical context by describing where we're coming from, so that we can understand why we are where we are and understand what we need to do to get out of some of the problems that we're in at the moment. So I would like you to please shed light on this so that viewers can be excited about what they will find in here as they read.
Yes. When you look at our country at independence, the future was looking so nice and so good because the countries we started with, we were a better place than them, like China and India. We had a young population of about 30 million. At that stage, everything was working well for us. Graduates could, even before they graduated, were given jobs opportunities. We had a land, and we are still having it, that is well blessed in terms of weather, in terms of the air, the water we have, everything was good for us. But along the line, as we talk today, things are no longer like that. That was why I look at history. The British came in with different reasons for why they were coming in. And they did what they could do and handed over this country to us. But I tell you, right from there, things started going wrong. So I started asking myself questions. Where did we get it wrong? Where are we where we are today? How did we get it wrong? And that was why I started from the beginning. When they handed over to us, the first people that came in, they did their best. And up to today, if you look at the country from that perspective, you will discover that a lot of things are quite wrong with us.
Okay, let me read. Let me read something that you wrote, because I still want you to explore that historical context a little bit, But let me quickly read what you wrote. You said, the fate of a nation is inextricably linked to the quality of its systems and leadership. A country's system encompassing its institutions, values, and culture has a profound impact on the lives of its citizens. What caught me there is the way you described a country's system. You said it consists of institutions, values, and culture. Now, you then said, in Nigeria, the systemic culture has often hindered the country's ability to reach its full potential. So you explained that our culture has been a problem. So I'm taking you back to this historical context thing, because in your book, you now explained what you termed as colonial legacies. And you use them to explain how they influenced the culture in which the country was birthed in. which is part of the problem that we're having now. I would like you to shed a bit more light on that. When you say colonial legacy, maybe give one or two examples and how they shaped our culture as a people and became problematic years down the line.
Thank you very much. When you go back to history, I mentioned before that the colonial masters came with so many reasons why they had to come in. And by the time they came in, they brought in the issue of patronage, where some people were favored against others. And apart from that, the culture that they left behind us really didn't help us. And that's why I said any country, any nation that prioritize individual interests, religious interests, or sectional interests against the national would not make it. And exactly that was what was left with us. They left us with acrimony that made us to dislike one another. Sectionally, we were made to know that we are different. Religiously, religion was put ahead. Instead of talking Nigerian, they were talking of the North, they were talking of the South, and they were talking about the East. These are the things that divide us. And so when you look at that, you know that the legacy that the colonial masters left us with is not helping us today.
So you said patronage, right? That's the word you used. One of the colonial legacies, the culture of patronage. Can you give an example of what they did? You did mention that they preferred one part over another to illustrate what you meant by patronage. But let me dig in a little bit and ask you if you could be more specific when you said they preferred one part over another.
Yes, when you look at it, they were, the colonial masters were after the raw materials that they were looking for. And so, in order to get across us, the indirect rule was used in the North, and they wanted to export it to the South. And that actually brought a lot of issues. And if you look at what happened, you will know that they didn't help us by bringing those differences to us.
Okay, is there another thing, can you mention another example of colonial legacy that became very problematic for us down the line in terms of shaping or influencing our culture, which you say is extremely important in determining leadership performance? So can you give us another example of one of the colonial legacies?
Yes. The colonial masters, when they came, they actually look at the tribes. They were identifying us as tribal in a tribal form instead of recognizing us as Nigerians. That actually affected us. And so the favoritism also brought that, where some people were favored. That affected the present Nigeria that we have. And so that was why I went back to history to bring out the role of the colonial masters as with respect to this country.
Okay, that's a very interesting angle. But you then went to explain that, okay, fine, we had colonial legacies as one problem. Then the founding fathers, the pioneer leaders of the country, also built on some of those legacies and complicated the problem more. A typical example I remember very well in your book is the case of Nnamdi Azikiwe and Obafemi Awolowo when it came to the Western Region Assembly elections, I think in 1952, if I'm correct. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But that story stands out in your book, where you said Azikiwe had initially taken the lead in the election, but suddenly overnight, Awolowo's people sort of like flipped the whole thing, and that became a problem later on. I would like you to explain that, or maybe not that specifically, just the whole general idea of how the pioneer leaders of Nigeria also contributed by building on those colonial legacies and complicating the problems.
Yes, in trying to see and ask the question, where did we get it wrong? I came across, through my research, to find out that Zik, who was not born in the East, was born in the North Central, Zungeru, but he grew up in Lagos. Now, when he came to the Western House of Assembly, there was the election that took place. Zik had won the election, but overnight, there was carpet crossing overnight. And when he realized, before he realized it, he discovered that a lot of his party members and others had moved to Awolowo's camp. And he was not able to make up the government. There, he decided to look back. Looking back, he went back home, where he didn't grow up there. And from there, you know that we missed it at that point. Assuming he was allowed to be the leader in the West from the East, today it will be a different story. And so he was defeated. He came back. He had to go back home. Home in the sense that he was an Easterner. In his own response, he said, the West is for the Westerner, the North is for the Northerners, and then the East for the Easterners. So you can see that at that point, we missed it.
What is the most prominent, the most critical suggestions you offer in your book in terms of transforming Nigeria?
Yes, I said, if we continue like this, we must have a total mindset change. From leadership, from followership, from sectional interests, from religious interests, we have to totally change our mindset. Our mindset must be a nationally oriented mindset. You don't have to look at your brother and support him even when he's not qualified. You don't have to look at a fellow Nigerian because he's this religion, you look against it, you go against him because of that. Our interest should be at the national interest orientation from the leadership, from followership, from all the sections. Once we can do that, we'll go places. And one other thing I also said is that the selection process has also contributed to where we are today. I'm calling selection because before election, there is always a selection team. Even with the military, after they succeed, those who select the leader don't do that with the national interest in mind. They do that with a personal interest or sectional interest, and such a person that gets to that position must dance to that tune. That is responsible. So we have to, apart from all the other things that the government is doing, we have to totally change our mindset. Concentrate on the Nigerian nation, national interest.
Okay, I would like us to go through your chapters one by one, but before then, I would like to read something that you wrote here that really struck me. When you critically examine these issues, you will certainly know that Nigeria's challenges revolve around a flawed system due to the mindset of its citizens, which is what you just alluded to now when you said we need a total mindset change. And then you wrote, Nigerians are Nigeria's major problems. I mean, that's such a powerful statement. Nigerians are Nigeria's major problem. And you've highlighted that a little bit, but you know, it's easy to say, oh, we need a mindset change, we need a total mindset change. How are we going to have how do you change the mindsets of multiple millions of people? In a practical, I mean, speaking practically now, how is that workable?
Yeah, I said we are our own problems, and I asked some questions. When you go back to the amalgamation of Nigeria, who signed those papers? Nigerians did. Politically, when it comes to politics, who are responsible for the political happenings today? Nigerians. When you see the developmental aspect of ours, who are the people that are driving the nation economy? Nigerians. Why are we not getting it right? Because some Nigerians decided to push their personal interest forward. Once you put personal interest against the national interest, you will get it wrong. And so we are our own problems. And that's why I advocated for the total mindset change. If you look at every sector of the economy, some people believe that they have invested in each of the sections personally. And so if there's anything good in it, they will want to protect their interest instead of the national interest. For instance, electricity today is lopsided, is not going the way we want it. Why? Because some people have decided that, look, they have invested in the importation of generators. And so they don't want electricity to work so that they can continue to enjoy their interest. Anytime there is, before the liberalization in the oil and gas industry, where I worked, anytime there is stability in the distribution of petrol, some people will say that the market has fallen. And so what do? They will connive, they will bring hiccups, they will bring strike, so that the price can be determined by the storage of their products in their filling stations. Even the railway, for instance, because of personal interest, many people and some Nigerians believe that they have invested in transportation in their tractors and their trailers and tankers. So the rail cannot work because the rail is the massive way of moving people and materials. So they work against the national interest. I can go on and on, but I tell you, Nigerians, we contribute to where we are today.
Well, Zachariah Suleiman, thank you very much for joining us on Channels Book Club. I do hope your book is easy to find. Our viewers will be looking for it to read. We'll be very happy to have you on the show again soonest when you release your next book, which I'm sure you're already working on.
Yes, right, of course. It's a continuous thing.
Thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club. It's been a pleasure having you. Transforming Nigeria, that's what we all want. What a book by Zachariah Suleiman. You want to lay your hands on that and read, especially those who have significant influence in changing Nigeria. We all need to get our hands dirty in terms of changing the country, but leadership is powerful, isn't it? Those who are in positions of leadership, surely they've got greater influence when it comes to bringing about change. But it's a duty of every Nigerian. And that's why every Nigerian should read Suleiman's book. And just let's get busy fixing Nigeria. Nigeria can be transformed. We can do it. Well, this is where we have to end the show today. As always, we'll be delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.